All right, so welcome everyone. It's good to have you. Today, the topic is 3 steps to forgiveness. It's going to be a little bit about forgiveness, a very important topic. And why is that important? Because if we cannot forgive, we're usually stuck in the past. We can't move on. And if we're stuck in the past mentally, we're often doomed to repeat the same kind of actions, the same kind of thoughts, same kind of feelings that we're used to repeat. So that way, our life can change. So really, really important to cultivate forgiveness in order to move on. And there are 3 steps that I found to be quite helpful that lead on to forgiveness. Step 1 is step of acceptance. Step 2, step of understanding, and step 3 is actually forgiving. You can forgive both yourself or others. You can forgive your friends, your enemies. You can forgive people that you don't know. That all exists within our own self as well. You can be your own enemy, for example. You can be your own friend. And you can treat yourself as if you weren't there. In other words, you don't know that you're there, which is most of the time the case, because we're lost in thoughts most of the time. We don't actually feel that we are here. We're not able to pay attention to ourselves. And so forgiving ourselves always must precede forgiving other people. Like so often on the spiritual path, if you want to love other people, for example, very important first to practice loving yourself. Because if we are unable to love ourselves, then the love that we have for other people is always some sort of business. It's like a deal. I love you because you are a certain way. If you are not the way I would like you to be, I don't like you anymore. I don't love you anymore. That's very common. Right? We do that with ourselves as well. Right? If I am a certain way, I like myself. I'm quite okay with being myself, but most of the time I don't really am the way that I feel I should be. And most of the time I'm in some sort of conflict with myself. And I dislike myself. And that conflict costs us a huge amount of energy, actually. We're losing so much energy because we're constantly in conflict with ourselves most of the time. Kind of arguing with ourselves. It's almost as if we would have multiple personalities in our head. There's some good personalities that give you good suggestions of what you should do and how you should behave and what you should practice and what you should say and good things and so forth. And there are some personalities that are more of the dark side. They kind of want you to do things that are harmful. They want you to say things that are harmful and so forth. So when I say forgiving ourselves and the 3 kind of personalities that are inside of ourselves, namely the enemy, the friend, or the neutral person, we have to operate based on the feelings that we feel and the thoughts that we have. So for example, what kind of thoughts do you predominantly repeat in your head? What's your thought world like? And what kind of feelings is this world of thoughts carried by? It's almost like feeling would be like an ocean and the thoughts would be like a boat, if you want to picture it. So feelings are carrying the thoughts. But both exist interdependently, the boat and the ocean. A boat without the ocean doesn't make any sense. Or a boat without a body of water doesn't make any sense. And a body of water without a boat, also you can't cross it. So they both exist interdependently. So your thoughts, they lead to feelings in short, and feelings, they lead to thoughts. And if they constantly keep repeating themselves, how can I forgive myself? Well, first of all, we want to accept that this is the case for all of us. We're all trapped in those cycles. We're all kind of repeating the same character types over and over again. Same kind of thoughts over and over again. Same types of feelings over and over and over again. If we can understand that within ourselves, that we don't seem to have the power to get out of this cycle actually, then that's the step of understanding. When Jesus was tortured on the cross, then he would say to someone also, I think, who wanted to defend him or something, I don't know the exact story, he said, forgive them because they do not know what they do. So he encouraged a sort of understanding there. The understanding is you can forgive them because they do not know what they do. And similarly, I need to forgive myself because I don't know what I'm doing to myself day in and day out. For example, keeping myself in these repetitive states of anxiety and worries and despair and, looking into a dreadful future. Oh my God, I hope I will make it. Or looking into the past or before everything was better. We're punishing ourselves day in and day out like this. And if you can see that, this is the acceptance part, if you can accept that this is what is going on, then it can lead to an understanding. And that understanding is, well, obviously I don't know what I'm doing to myself here, so this kind of thing can repeat and repeat. In an atmosphere of ignorance, of not knowing yourself, of being unaware of yourself, all these things can flourish. And we need to forgive ourselves because we don't know what's going on inside. That maybe it seems overly simplistic. You think like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on, I'm not so sure about that, I think I do know what's going on, and all that kind of stuff. But there's so much going on in our psyche that we are totally unaware of. So many layers and layers of the past, of past conditioning that is working through the mind. So many of the voices that are in your head right now, they're voices from your parents, they're voices from the media you consume all the time. It's not really your voice that speaks in your head. It's the voice of culture, society, the way you've been brought up, the experiences that you've made in your past. And these kind of experiences, if they're left unchecked, they will lead to actions which match up with these experiences. Meaning that these experiences, they actually seek to repeat themselves. It's almost like an animal that wants to stay alive. Our character. It seeks to stay alive. And it does everything in its power to stay in the state that it knows best. Because the unknown, meaning the place in which I seemingly have no control, is the most scary thing ever. But the known, as bad as it is for some people, it's the known, it's all we know. So we constantly manage to maneuver ourselves back into what we know. And so we stay in what we know. And we repeat what we know. And it takes a lot of mindfulness, a lot of power to actually see that. That's why we sit down every day and cultivate meditation. That's why meditation is such a vital, important factor of the path. You want to sit down every day and actually look at yourself. But many people don't do that. And the reason why they don't do it is because then they are faced with what they don't want to see. The unknown. The fears, pain, anxiety, worries, it's all right there. So most people rather choose to close the box. I'll open that later. And it kind of goes on and on through life until they die, and the box is still not opened. We still haven't really understood ourselves. We still haven't really accepted that, yes, I am uncomfortable within myself. And it's all right. It's okay. It's normal to be uncomfortable. It's part of being human. Now the question is, are you okay with being human? Maybe intellectually, but very unlikely that you are also okay with being who you are on an emotional level. And when the emotions kick in, then the intellect just follows through. The intellect just matches the emotion as well. It will justify the emotion that's there. So if you're feeling angry, upset, disturbed, then the intellect will help this emotion to stay alive, and the emotion will help the intellect to stay alive. So that's why it takes a lot of mindfulness power to actually see that. To actually step back in the storm and see, whoa, anger tries to stay alive right now, or sadness tries to stay alive right now. Feelings feed the thoughts, thoughts feed the feelings in turn. And I see that cycle very clearly. This is just only the first step. This is acceptance. Again, that has to be followed through with understanding. You just see that this is okay. It's normal to have these feelings. It's normal to be upset. It's normal to get angry. If someone is in your face, if someone takes away something from you that you like very much, you will be angry. That's for sure. You all have buttons. And depending on which kind of buttons you have, they can be pushed. Just only need to see the right person at the right time and boop, there it goes off. Easy. And normal also, it's okay. We all have these buttons. I have them too. By the way, I've been practicing meditation for quite a while. And over the years, what has happened for me is not that I got less buttons. It's just that I'm okay with the buttons that are there more. Which is taking a lot of work. Because the tendency is not to be okay with what feels not good. So whatever feels not good in our life, it could lead two ways. One, it could lead to more feelings that are not good. Or it could also lead another way. To growth. To more strength. To more power. And here is where your choices are. But if you cannot forgive, then we are most likely to repeat the feeling, just simply repeating it for repetition's sake. Just because the feeling needs to stay alive. The character needs to stay alive. Some people, they are in a poor me character. Everything in life will confirm that they are not good enough. Everything in life will constantly confirm to them, yes, see, you messed up again. Yes, see, nobody loves you. And that's why you are a poor person. You're miserable because there is proof, there is proof, there is proof. It looks almost like life is working against you, but it's not the case. It's just our attitude is confirming the wrong kind of things. It's confirming what we don't want. Again, because it is unseen. We don't see what's going on. We keep limiting ourselves. And how do we limit ourselves? By thoughts and feelings. By constantly repeating the same kind of thoughts and feelings. Some people get more strong when they are faced with adversities, faced with problems. Problems come to you, you get stronger. More beautiful. You see up there the peacock's feathers. You know that this is a very old symbol actually in Buddhism, is used, these peacock feathers, because a peacock is known for eating a lot of poisonous snakes and plants. They like to eat poisonous animals and poisonous plants. In fact, they eat one of the most poisonous plants in the world. I forgot the name of it, but you can Google it. And it is said that the poison that is in the plant is actually enhancing the color of their feathers. It's making them more shiny, more shimmery. And so this is used as an image. That if something poisonous comes to you, does it make you more beautiful? Or does it put you down? That's what you can decide. This is actually your power. But most people say, no, I'm weak. Because if I correctly remember, yesterday I've been weak, and the day before yesterday I've been weak, last year I've been weak, and I always have a lot of problems in my life. That's why I will always be weak. We give up into our thoughts. We give up into our mind that spins around like that. So the poison doesn't actually make you stronger, it does make you weaker. And we are encouraged on the path to transform adversities into the path. There's this old kind of Tibetan saying, it's like the student comes to the teacher and the teacher and says to the teacher, oh, I have so many obstacles on the path. There's so many obstacles on the path. And the teacher says, obstacles are the path. It's not that they are on the path. Every time you experience difficulty, life is asking you a question. What do you really want? And why? If you do have a very clear why in your life, you know why you do something, you almost feel like something is pulling you. You don't feel like you have to push yourself to get there. You feel something is pulling you. You can't resist. You can't find your way around it. You must have that. You must get that. There's no other option. Then you have direction in life. So even before we go into the practice of meditation, usually I think it's very important to contemplate, like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? What do I really want? And take your time with this. Sit down, take out a piece of paper and write it down very clearly. Here's what I want. Be as detailed as possible. Because as long as we don't know what we want, our mind has no direction. And if it has no direction, then it's aimless. It just goes, when the wind blows left, then the mind goes left. The wind blows right, then the mind blows right with it. You're not strong inside of yourself. So whatever happens, it will either push you down or it will bring you up. I've been challenged by some of the most strong and most wise and powerful people in my life, people that I respect a huge deal. And every one of these challenges had me asked this question, what do I really want? What do I really want in my life? At one time I had, for example, when I was back at the monastery, I mentioned to my master that I wanted to become a monk. I wanted to actually become ordained. And he said, well, that's a good idea. Wait 7 years. And I was like, okay, good. And so life kind of went away. And I had, for the first year or so, my mom and my dad were paying for my stay at the monastery. And then after that year finished, both pulled out. They just said, so you want to stay there? Stay there. But you finance it. It was in Switzerland, so you had to pay for it. So finance it. And I was like, oh, but I have no qualifications. I'm in a foreign country. I'm in Switzerland. I'm not allowed to work there. I'm a German citizen. I hope no Swiss authority is listening to that right now. So I couldn't really officially work there. I knew nobody there really. And I didn't know what to do. So I fell into a deep crisis, big problem. I really wanted to stay there. So my mind was tricky. It said, Tobi, try again. Ask your teacher again. Go to him and ask him if you can be ordained faster. Do you see that? And my mind also said, you want to be ordained faster because you really want to study. You don't want to work. You don't want to spend the rest of your life working for some job and then missing out, and maybe missing out many years, and then having worked but not really gotten anywhere in your meditation practice. You need to be ordained because meditation is all you really want. But at this time, as I said before, it's very difficult to see ourselves clearly when we're in the heat of the moment. And I didn't see that what was speaking was not honest. It was just laziness. I can say that now. And so I went to my teacher, and guess what he reflected? He didn't reflect my honest and sincere wish to spend as a monk in a monastery doing meditation and all that. He didn't reflect that, but he reflected what was more deep, which I couldn't see at that time. So I went to him, and he was kind of walking away from me. So I had to kind of run behind him and up the stairs, and he was going towards his office. And I was like, please wait for a second, I have a question. He turned around, what? I was really shocked because he was like rude, actually. He appeared really rude. What? And I said, I wanted to ask again if I could maybe, but I was shaking. I was like really nervous. If you might maybe ordain me as a monk a bit faster, because I have this problem that my parents, they're not paying anymore for the. And then he asked, do you need work? I said, if you need work, go and work. And then he smashed the door into my face. Uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I felt totally abandoned. Mom abandoned me. Dad abandoned me. Now I was only alone with my why. Next day I had work. Because no option. No option. I had to. Because I want to study. I could also have said, okay, I'll go back to Germany, that's it. Maybe do a job there, and no. There was no option. I was so attached to that place, to studying there, so strongly, it was no option for me. I had to find work. It was a must. And one of the best lessons I ever got from my teacher, probably the most uncomfortable one too, or one of the most uncomfortable. There were many of these kind of lessons there. We need to know very clearly why. Very clearly. And you're lucky if you have somebody that challenges you in your life to find that out. And these challenges are not always comfortable. But when you know your why, you're already making your step out of your past behaviors. You already are about to change your life. You're not feeling helpless anymore. You're not feeling anymore, oh, I'm abandoned, but you empower yourself. And that's the job of a good teacher, to show you your own power, not to carry you around. And this is what forgiveness actually means. This is the true essence of forgiveness. You find your power. And you let go of feeling weak, of feeling powerless, of feeling, oh, I can't do this. You can, you just don't know your why yet. So you feel like, oh, I should, I could, maybe I... It's swimming around. No clarity just yet. So sometimes life is asking you for clarity. Like 100% clarity. And if that's not there, life doesn't act. Life closes the door. First, know what you want. Then the door opens. And this is something that is valid for me every single day, more and more so on the spiritual path, more and more so every day. I notice just how important it is to have goals, very clear goals. That is probably one of the most recent changes that I went through. And then when you are on the path, when you are following through to find your goal, be present. Stop worrying about the future, stop worrying about the past. Step. Walk right now, right here. And every step will have quality, that's for sure. As long as we are there. As long as we are knowing towards what we are walking. You see, that story is even backed up in the sutras. There's one great disciple of the Buddha, his name is Shariputra. And Shariputra was once visited by a villager. And a villager came to him and he had that very clever question. He said, if nirvana is the end of all desires, then wouldn't it be just right to just give up all desires right now and right here? And Shariputra said, no, that's not correct. And he asked him a question, what is it that made you come here and ask the question? And the villager clearly understood immediately, oh yeah, he had a question, he had a doubt. And upon that he had a desire to find an answer. And upon the desire to find an answer, he went out and sought the answer. And then he received the answer as a result. And because he received that answer, clear understanding could arise. Closer to nirvana. So it is very important to have goals. The Buddha also has mentioned, for example, that he was never satisfied with his skills. Sounds funny, it doesn't sound like the Buddha, right? It's like the Buddha is always content, just floating around. He said, the secret to my success is I've never been satisfied with my skills. He's been satisfied with his house, with his dwelling. He's been satisfied with his food. He's been satisfied with his life the way it is, but not with his skills. That wasn't enough. He needed to work on his skills. Challenge himself, go further. And you can only do that properly if you know very clearly what kind of direction are you on. What do you really want? Well, then you can find the steps that you need to take. And then it's like a week by week thing, right? Like, that's my big goal, and here this week I'm going to work on that little goal, working on that little step, day by day. Getting closer to my big goal. Every time we sit in meditation, the first thing we do as preparation is sitting upright, suspending head from above, taking a few deep breaths, and then attitude. Receiving yourself with kindness, friendliness, and warmth, knowing why you do this. Why do you sit down cross-legged in some fancy room in Thailand? What for? What are you looking for? If that is very clear, your practice will take off. Immediately. Because you have something that pulls you towards it. Something that pulls you towards peace. Something that pulls you towards insight. We have that tendency to look at our current circumstance and say, well, that's who I am. But that's not true. That's not who you are. That's who you have been repeatedly. And you could make one decision that changes all of that. And then make another one. And another one. And you will make those decisions as soon as you know what you want. And so forgiveness is the process of stopping to look at what you did not want in your past and turn away from that and see that now I can make it better. This is true forgiveness. Not dwelling on the past anymore, but deciding to take better action, make better decisions every day. That is what empowers you, what empowers me. the decisions that I take, this is your greatest power, because life can throw anything at you, any problem, any challenge, any difficulty. But what do you decide to do about it? What kind of person does it make you? That's your power. Maybe some of you know Nick Vujicic. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. He doesn't have any arms. He has no legs. He was born like without arms and legs. He's pretty famous. And some people might say that this is a weakness. You have no arms, you have no legs, you'll never hug anyone, you'll probably never have a girlfriend. And who will offer you a job? What could you do? You have no arms, you have no legs. Tough situation. But it made this very thing, it made him one of the strongest people. He's changing so many people's lives through this. It's his power. Another story to illustrate that is that's an actual fact story as well. There are two brothers. One and the other, they live apart from each other, and they have been interviewed separately about what made their life, what brought them to where they were at this moment. And one of these brothers was extremely successful. He had a very good job, he had a beautiful family. He was very happy. And the other brother, he was an alcoholic. He was repeatedly going to jail, back out for minor offenses, all these kind of things. His life was very dark. And they interviewed them. And both, obviously, had the same father. And that father was an alcoholic. And he committed minor offenses all the time. He ended up in jail. And I think he was locked up for murder at some point, yeah. And so they interviewed these two men, these two brothers, and asked them exactly the same question. Why is your life the way it is? And both, in a funny way, answered exactly the same. Both said, how could it be any different with a father like that? Do you see that power of your decision? Maybe life is not nice. What do you decide? That's your power. Do you want to use your power? Or do you want others to decide what you should feel like and how your life should be like? That power, if you use it wisely, it leads to happiness. It leads away from suffering more and more. If that power is used without wisdom, then it will lead to a lot of pleasant, short-lived experiences. Okay, fair enough, but still you will die in the end. Take nothing with you. So we aim, of course, for the deepest possible level of fulfillment. Not just superficial, temporary pleasures, but a deep sense of fulfilling, a deep sense of arrival. That's why we practice meditation. We use this law of knowing what you want very clearly to let go of your past and to move on and create a better future through the actions and decisions that you make in the present moment. That's why mindfulness is so important in the realm of actions. If we have no mindfulness, we basically are robbed of our decisions and we answer impulsively to life. Which then again is this old nourishing habit of the emotion that we're predominantly holding on to. So the big question is around the people that you're spending time with. Do they point to your own power and do they help you increase it? Spend time with such people. Do they point to your own kindness? Do they help you to increase it? Do they point to your own relaxation and do they help you to increase it? Spend time with these people. It will not be wasted time. Some people, they give you everything. You say, I want to have a motorbike. They say, yes, here you go. I want to have a car. Yes, here you go. I want this, I want that. Yes, here, please, have it. It will not make you stronger. It will not really help you. And just like that saying, if you have a hungry man, you can either give him some fish, it will make him full for a day, or you can teach him how to fish. How do you pull that man up? What do you think? How do you pull a poor man up? By teaching him how to create wealth, both in spirit and externally. By teaching him how to spread kindness, both internally and externally. And life will improve. But if you just give him a little bit of money, he is confirmed, actually, to stay where he is. Because we went to Cambodia last two weeks ago, and went to Angkor Wat, and there are all these children who are begging in the temple complex. And I found a sign that said, please don't give the children anything. It discourages them to go to school. I found that a very clever saying, actually. It confirms that what they do is giving them enough money so they do not need any education. It keeps them trapped. So what does it mean? How can you help those children? You can, for example, donate, and they gave this example, you can donate to funds who are actually helping for education to come to children more, for children to get educated in better ways. To enable that, you could donate to these funds, for example. That way you raise them up. You pull them up. You keep them down if you feed their habits. And one thing to change your life is that you need to stop feeding your habits. That's tough. That's not easy. But it's the best kind of investment you can make into yourself. Stop feeding the habits that keep you weak. And then also meditation practice will work in ways you could have never dreamed of. Okay, so that is all that comes to mind for today.